to treat young women with respect, to treat each other with respect. We're not teaching our young women to be empowered, to know that they have value and they don't need to put up with these kinds of things. The balance of power in the dating relationship, I think, still favors the young men. And the young women need to know they don't have to put up with and should not put up with that kind of treatment just for the sake of having a relationship. And I think that's a difficult lesson to learn for a teenage girl.
It is, and when you couple social media, I remember one of the young women we spoke with said that her significant other, she's 16, and he's monitoring her Facebook. You know, when I was a girl dating, I had a phone at home. My dad's like, you could not call after 5 p.m., and that was that. Now it's 24/7. You know, I heard someone say they call it machine gunning, when they're constantly texting, where are you? Where are you going? You can now track someone's every move, and if you're 16, you don't realize that that is turning into a toxic relationship. No one should know where you are 24 hours a day, other than your mother and kids.
Right.
Except your parents.
Right, and that's just that element of control that is such a big part of domestic violence. That's often where it starts. And for these young girls to have the idea that they have to give up control to maintain that relationship, it's a lesson we need to teach them. They're important enough on their own. They have value on their own. They don't need to put up with that treatment just to have a relationship.
I know you mentioned the young girls, and I want the audience to hear your story, but you come from such an interesting and rich legal background here. There were headlines this week. Stacey Dash, an actress, was accused of assaulting her husband. She was arrested on battery charges. Again, in this case, her husband is accusing her of being the attacker. There are men who are victims of domestic abuse. The numbers are smaller, obviously, but there are also same-sex couples. I've talked to friends who are in same-sex relationships, and they say officers will come, and if there are two men, what do you mean someone was abused here? You're two men. We're breaking down these stereotypes of what a victim or a survivor looks like as well.
That's true. It's an equal opportunity kind of a crime. But I will tell you, something that we often see is women getting arrested for battery or sexual assault or whatever when they are actually just defending themselves. And that is very common. It's this dual arrest problem.
It's the she hit me, so I hit her mentality that's there. You, as I said, you're a lawyer, but your case that involved you personally is one of the most violent that I heard. What happened with you and your relationship?
Well, it got bad at the end, and after a torturous 2-year divorce period, the final blow, my husband kidnapped me. I was on my way to the courthouse for the last hearing in our divorce, and he showed up with a gun in the garage where I parked underground. And as I came out of the elevator and headed toward my car, he grabbed me, put a gun to my head, kidnapped me, and that was the beginning of a 13-hour standoff with the police that was horrifying and frightening.
I know he told you to call your children to say goodbye because you'd be dead soon.
Yes, and I did that.
You did?
I did. It was the hardest phone call I've ever made in my life because my family was at the police station. They gathered them all together at the police station, and I was allowed to call them to say goodbye, to tell them I loved them. It was difficult.
Going back to the legal part of this, you're on your way to court. You've been going through this 2-year ordeal. I've had women ask me, do restraining orders help? You know, or they feel like they're useless. They feel like the law is not on the side of the victim. When you hear women express that, what do you say, looking at your own experience as well?
I know what they're saying. I had orders. I had protective orders, restraining orders. They are worth it. They are worth getting. They don't always work. You have to protect yourself.
But to hear that is just, I mean, that's supposed to be your line of defense.
Yes, it is. But when there's someone out there with a gun and you've got a piece of paper that says, don't come near me, that piece of paper is not bulletproof, and it can only do so much. But I'm not saying don't get them. You should get them. You should get all the help you can.
Absolutely. I want to play this